The throne room of the Kareth dominion glittered like a sea of stars. Polished obsidian floors reflected torchlight, tall crystalline pillars rose like frozen lightning, and carved into the walls were endless murals of conquest. Tribes broken, empires bent, worlds burning beneath the fleet of the Kareth. On that throne sat Princess Alira, heir apparent to the dominion. Her crown, forged from the alloy of 7 conquered worlds, sat heavy on her brow. Should have felt glorious. It should have made her pulse with pride, for few in her long line of warlords had worn it so young. Yet, as she sat there surveying her court, she felt nothing. Her attendants bowed. The generals praised her tactical brilliance during the last campaign. The ministers fawned, as they always did. The songs of conquest filled the air. But none of it pierced the hollow place inside her chest. Because deep down, Alira knew the truth. They didn't cheer for her. They cheered for her bloodline, for the dominion, for fear of defiance. The crown meant power, yes, but not respect. And never love. She clenched the armrest of her throne. A crown is nothing more than a chain, disguised in gold. The silence broke when the guards dragged in a prisoner. Shackled, bruised, his face streaked with dirt but eyes alert, unbroken. He was different from the usual captives. Lean, shorter than a Kareth soldier, but carrying himself with a strange calm. His eyes, those odd, disarmingly bright human eyes, seemed to cut through the pomp of the chamber. "A human?" Lyra asked, frowning. "I thought Earth remained neutral." "He was found among rebels aiding the Threxian resistance," the guard answered. "He claims no allegiance but refuses to yield." "What are your orders, Princess?" The court fell into a hush. Normally, such a question had only one answer: execution or slavery. Yet Alira, restless and searching for something to pierce her ennui, leaned forward. "Bring him closer." The guards shoved the human until he knelt before her throne. His chains clinked as he lifted his head, locking eyes with her. "What is your name, human?" she asked. "Adrian," he replied without hesitation. The boldness in his tone startled her. No groveling, no fear. Just a simple truth, spoken with quiet strength. Her courtiers scoffed, murmuring about insolence, but Alira silenced them with a raised hand. She studied Adrian, waiting for the inevitable plea, the desperate bargaining. But none came. He simply stared back, steady as if her crown, her throne, and her power meant nothing. And for the first time in years, Alira felt the faintest spark of intrigue. The human's defiance. Over the next days, Alira summoned Adrian to her court again and again. At first, the others assumed she meant to break him for sport, as rulers often did with defiant captives. But Alira asked questions instead. Why would a human fight in a war not his own? "Because tyranny isn't confined by borders," Adrian replied. "Do you not fear death?" "I fear living without meaning more than I fear dying." Each answer was simple, but they struck something within her. His words held weight. Not because they were eloquent, but because they were honest. No courtier ever dared to speak with such directness. Around her, lies and flattery were constant currency. From him, she received only truth. She began visiting him in the dungeons under the pretense of interrogation. Yet the more they spoke, the more she realized it was not her questioning him, but him questioning her. "Why do you wear that crown, Alira?" he asked once, startling her with the use of her name. "It is my duty," she snapped, defensive. "It is my legacy. Or is it just a cage you've convinced yourself is a throne?" She had no answer. His words echoed in her mind long after she left. She hated him for it. And yet she longed to hear more. Whispers of rebellion. Beyond the palace walls, the galaxy stirred with unrest. The Kareth Dominion's grip was iron, but cracks had begun to show. Rumors of rebellion spread, whispers of fleets forming in secret. Alira's advisors assured her the rebellions were nothing. But she remembered Adrian's steady eyes and doubted. One night, when she visited him again, she confessed something she had never spoken aloud. "They do not respect me," she murmured, staring at the cold stone wall. "Not truly. They respect only what I represent. I could vanish tomorrow, and they would cheer for the next crowned head." Adrian studied her in silence before finally speaking. "Then make them see you, not the crown." Her pulse quickened. "And how does one do that?" "By standing for something greater than fear. Crowns command obedience. But only truth commands loyalty." His words unsettled her. Yet in that unease she felt alive. For the first time, her crown seemed less like a chain and more like a challenge. Betrayal in the court. It didn't take long for others to notice her strange interest in the human. Whispers spread. Ministers muttered. Generals grew wary. One evening, as she entered the dungeon, she found the cell door torn open. Blood streaked the stones. Adrian was gone. Her heart lurched, more than she wanted to admit. She stormed to her chamber, only to find her uncle, Lord Vaynar, waiting. He was one of the most powerful figures in the court, a man who coveted her throne. "You consort with prisoners now, niece," he sneered. "Dangerous for a princess to trust a human. I've seen to it that the problem no longer exists." Her fists clenched. "What did you do?" "Dispose of him, of course. The Dominion cannot be tainted by weakness. Better you forget him." Rage boiled in her chest. She should have struck him then. But she knew, if she acted without proof, she would play into his hands. Her crown was already fragile. Any misstep could shatter it. That night, she grieved in silence. But at dawn, a secret message reached her, delivered by a servant loyal only to her. The message was simple: the human lives. Adrian had been smuggled out of the palace by a small faction within the Dominion army, dissenters who saw in him a symbol. They offered him safety. If Alira would turn a blind eye. Her heart pounded. She could order him dragged back in chains. She could silence the rebellion before it grew. That was what a Kareth ruler would do. But when she closed her eyes, she heard his voice. "Crowns command obedience. Only truth commands loyalty." For the first time in her life, Alira faced a choice, not between victory and defeat, but between being her father's heir, or her own person. The fire spreads. Rebellion ignited faster than she imagined. Secret fleets revealed themselves. Colonies rose in open defiance. And in every corner of the Dominion, a name whispered through the ranks. The human Adrian, who had dared speak truth before a throne. Her council demanded brutal retaliation. Her uncle urged executions and terror. Yet Alira hesitated. For she realized something dangerous. The rebels did not rally for Adrian's strength. They rallied for his ideals. And those ideals resonated with her. So, one night, against all sense and every law, Alira left the palace in disguise. She tracked the rebels through forgotten star lanes until she found them on a hidden moon. And there, standing amidst alien soldiers, battered ships, and desperate hopes, was Adrian. When he saw her, his eyes widened. "Alira, you shouldn't be here." She wanted to say 1,000 things. Instead, she whispered the truth that had haunted her for weeks. "My crown means nothing, Adrian. Nothing until I heard you speak." The words stunned him into silence. Around them, the rebels bristled, unsure if it was trap or miracle. But Adrian stepped forward, chains of memory heavier than the ones he once wore. "If you truly believe that," he said, voice steady, "then stand with us. Not as a princess, not as a crown, but as a Lyra." The choice of a princess the weeks that followed tested her more than any campaign. She fought beside the rebels, not as royalty, but as soldier. She listened, learned, and began to see what her dominion had blinded her to: the suffering beneath its banners, the hollow victories carved into its murals. And in time she saw something else: respect. Not given for her title, but earned through her choices. When the decisive battle came, an armada clashing in the orbit of her homeworld, Lyra stood not on her father's flagship, but on a rebel cruiser. She faced her uncle's fleet across the void, her heart trembling but her voice strong. "This is Princess Lyra of the Carith Dominion," she declared across the comms. "But today I do not speak as heir. I speak as myself. The Dominion is built on fear. But fear cannot rule forever. Choose now. Will you serve crowns or truth?" Her words spread like wildfire through the ranks. And for the first time in history, Carith ships turned against one another. Soldiers defected mid-battle. The tide shifted, not through sheer force but through conviction. By the battle's end, Lord Vanar was defeated, the Dominion fractured. Not destroyed but changed forever. The crown's new meaning when peace finally returned. Lyra stood in the ruins of the throne room where it all began. Her crown still lay upon the throne, gleaming heavy. For a long while she stared at it. Then Adrian entered, walking beside her. His clothes were still simple, his demeanor unchanged, but his presence steadied her more than all her armies ever had. "Will you take it again?" he asked, nodding toward the crown. Lyra lifted it slowly. No longer felt like a chain. For the first time it felt like a choice. "Yes," she said. "But not for power. For truth. For them." And when she set it upon her head, it was not the court's applause that filled her heart. It was Adrian's quiet smile, the only approval she had ever truly desired. Her crown meant nothing once. But now it meant everything.